I'm Anawiltos, and today I am doing some Star Trek power scaling, part of my science fiction power scaling series. And today, something that I'm going to do is I'm going to sort out these two sections right here. And what I mean by that is, if you notice, I've got the Intrepid class in there. I've put it above the Nebula and Galaxy class. The reason I put it above there is because I'm comparing the Intrepid class to the Galaxy class and Nebula class straight out of Space Dock, as in the prototypes. For example, the Intrepid against the Galaxy and the Nebula. So in other words, there's a several year gap in technology, and therefore the torpedoes are possibly more powerful and more sophisticated at the time of the Intrepid class. And also there's a bioneural circuitry and also higher warp factors and everything. And that's why I put the Intrepid class above the Galaxy class and the Nebula class originally. However, I've got this other scale over here where I'm looking at the Intrepid class and the Excelsior class refit, specifically the one where it's the Lakota and and there's a space battle against the Defiant. And the Defiant is, of course, a purpose-built warship made by the Federation. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to integrate these two power scales into one power scale. I originally had them separate because I didn't know where exactly to put the Excelsior class refit, so I didn't end up putting it anywhere in here anyway. But I think I figured out where I want to put it now. All right. So let me just do this and insert. And everything up here we can, we can put up one. There we go. And, well, there's no real reason to keep this part around anyway, but what I'm going to do here is I'm going to place the Excelsior class refit in between the Intrepid and the Sovereign class. The reason I put it above the Intrepid class is because I already had placed it above it, because it was a refit at about the time that the Defiant came out, and the Intrepid came out, and the Sovereign came out, and therefore, presumably, as a much larger capital ship than the Intrepid class, it would have to be more powerful, especially if it's going head-to-head with the Defiant, which, as a purpose-built warship, would definitely be more powerful than the Intrepid class. And also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this down here, and I'm going to place the Defiant above the Sovereign class. The reason I put that is because the Defiant comes into production at around the same time as, or at least the prototypes come out at around the same time as the Sovereign class and Intrepid class, and also the Excelsior class refit, the DS9 era. And as a purpose-built warship, it, in theory, would be more powerful than the Sovereign class, even though the Sovereign class is larger. However, the Sovereign class is not a purpose-built warship. However, it is a purpose-confident warship, as in all the large explorers built by the Federation and Earth before that are, of course, built so that they can be used for war. However, that's generally not the main intention. Therefore, they're not fine-tuned for war. However, the Defiant class definitely is. So that's why I'm putting it above the Sovereign class. So here you have an 11-layered tiering list of all of the major capital ships used by Federation and the Earth before that. Of course, there are some others that I could put in there as well that I haven't put in there that may merit being put in there as well. For example, I'm thinking of where the Constellation class would fit in, and the Miranda class is another one that I'm thinking of fitting in there somewhere. And all those things are important. But let me just go for it. NX class is below Constitution class. I think that's pretty obvious. There are several decades in difference between the design. So and they are ships filling in a similar function. And also the Constitution class is larger. In addition to that, the Constitution class is built after the Federation is formed, which means that there's a wider access to technology. So that definitely puts that above the NX class. The Constitution class refit from the movies is definitely above the Constitution class. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a refit. I think that's basic common sense there. The Excelsior class is larger than the Constitution class and was built to replace it, so that puts it above there. The Ambassador class, similar thing with the Excelsior class compared to the Constitution class, just more advanced technology, larger ship, similar function, so it obviously is going to be above that. And a Galaxy class to the Ambassador class. Now, here's the controversial bit: Galaxy class and Nebula class. The reason that I have them in this order, they're really, really close, in my opinion. They're very close. But if you look at the models, you can tell that they have a similar internal volume, which means that they should be comparable in capabilities. However, the Nebula class has a modular nature to it, which allows it to have a torpedo pod or a sensor pod or a number of other things that generally makes it, gives it a greater flexibility than the Galaxy class, even though it's essentially equal to it in most respects. So that's why I put it above there. I know that there's some people that will disagree, but that's just my opinion. And Intrepid class above a Nebula class and Galaxy class, as I explained, it came out with some big changes, more advanced technology, faster warp speed, compared to when the Galaxy class first came out. Even though the Intrepid isn't really made to replace the Galaxy class, that's what the Sovereign class is more for. But the Intrepid class certainly is a few levels above the original Galaxy class. And Excelsior class refit is above Intrepid class because it has some refit potential that not refit potential, but some parts of its refit are things that the Intrepid class doesn't have. I think it has better hull plating and also quantum torpedo complement, which the Intrepid class did not get. So that definitely puts it above. However, it's also larger as well, but it's probably got a slower warp speed, if I do imagine, since it's built on the Excelsior class. Even though the Excelsior class was originally supposed to do experiments in transwarp, those experiments did not end up being successful. And the Sovereign class above the Excelsior class refit, even though Sovereign class, all these top four classes came out at around the same time. The Sovereign class, of course, is meant to replace the Galaxy class and therefore has all of the technological advancements of the Intrepid class. So that's why it's above the Intrepid class. And also, in addition to that, it generally is a more advanced design than the Excelsior class, and would have similar technological capabilities to the Excelsior class, such as quantum torpedoes. So that's why it's above there. And the Defiant class, as I explained, purpose-built warship, very overgunned. However, although this is a tactical scaling, which means how well they would do in combat, on a strategic level, I think the Galaxy class may actually be better than the Defiant class due to higher warp speed, or at least Dominion War era Galaxy class. Let me qualify that before anyone goes out of their mind. On a strategic level, due to the higher capability of transporting troops and higher transporter capacity as well, and also higher warp speed. On a strategic level, the Galaxy class certainly rises as a challenger to the Defiant class, although the Defiant class's primary strength is in tactical situations. So there are different ways to scale it, and I just wanted to point that out. So that's my opinion on scaling so far. Now, if anybody else has useful opinions on the scaling, by the way, this is a separate scale, just so that you all know. Let me just insert an extra bit so that everyone knows it's supposed to be separate. The Cardassian scale here is definitely separate. But anyway, if you have any additional information, something additional you would want me to slip in there that you want to discuss, I would be happy to. If you would like to co-host with me, if you think that the ideas you've got to bring to the table are so bold that it would be good to co-host with me, that would be great as well. I always welcome collaboration. Jolly cooperation is always very great. Let me just save the document. So anyway, thank you all for watching, and I will be seeing you all next time on Awiltos Over. And